Number 95, systems of linear equations in two variables. This video is going to be broken up into multiple pieces. We're going to take this word problem here, and feel free to press pause and read it and do what you got to do. But what we're going to do is we're going to do this problem by elimination method. Then we're going to do we're going to take the same problem, do substitution method. We're going to do graphing method. We're going to do a row-reduced echelon form in the graphing calculator method, also known as the Gauss-Jordan method. So let's take a look here. We have an individual wants to use cottage cheese and yogurt to increase the amount of protein and calcium in his diet. 1 ounce of cottage cheese contains 3 grams of protein and 12 milligrams of calcium. 1 ounce of yogurt contains 1 gram of protein and 44 milligrams of calcium. To provide exactly 57 grams of protein and 840 milligrams of calcium, how many ounces of each should he eat each day? Well, since the question is saying how many ounces, that's what we label the variables. C is the number of ounces of cottage cheese, Y is the number of ounces of yogurt. The question in every word problem will always tell you where to start. You'll start with the unknowns. You'll start with the variables. This gives us two situations. One of them is the protein, the amount of protein. We'll call it the protein equation. And then we have the calcium equation. So we're going to multiply 3 times the ounces of cottage cheese to get us a certain number of protein, because you have 3 grams of protein. So 3 times C. And then 1 times Y. There's only 1 gram of protein in 1 gram of protein for the yogurt. All right. So the goal is 57 for protein. So notice how all the protein stuff is in the protein equation, all the calcium information is in the calcium equation. It just now becomes a matter of how to solve. We take the first equation, and if you notice, if you multiply the entire equation by -4, that will give you a -12 and a +12 here, so that's what we have. So now remember, in equations, you're allowed to do whatever you want to both sides as long as you do the same thing. So we multiply all 3 of those terms by -4. Okay, that gives us a -228 and a -4y. When we add those together, when we add the two equations together, we get 40y equals 612, and then we divide by 40 on both sides, and we get y equals 15.3 ounces of yogurt. Now we use any of the equations of the system to solve for the ounces of cottage cheese. So we go back to the original, the easiest one, which was 3c plus y equals 57. Subtract 15.3 on both sides, divide by 3. We get c is 13.9, so therefore we're going to use 13.9 ounces of cottage cheese to reach the goal of the 57 grams of protein and 840 milligrams of calcium. Now, we're going to do the same problem, but we're going to use a substitution method instead. So if you're looking for a different way to do this, we would say, okay, let's start off by taking one of these equations and solving for one of the variables. You have a 3c, a 1y, a 12c, and a 44y. It's easy to solve for y in the first equation because it's got a 1 for the coefficient. We just subtract 3c on both sides, get 57 minus 3c is y. Now, you take the other equation. Whichever equation you solve for, you use the other one. So there's the y in the other equation. We're going to change that to a 57 minus 3c eventually. Now, there's a little bit of a trick here we're going to use. Notice how the second equation, we could divide everything by 4. In fact, we could have done that for the elimination method in the first one. But you could divide everything by 4, and you get 3c plus 11y equals 210. That's just dividing by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. So it's no big deal, but you can do that. Now you make your substitution. 57 minus 3c goes in for y. By the way, you didn't have to do this, but it just makes life easier because you're working with smaller numbers. Distribute the 11, and then we combine like terms. You get -30c. You subtract 627, you divide, you get 13.9 ounces of cottage cheese. How do you find the yogurt? Well, you go back to the y equals equation, and you throw the 13.9 in for c, and you get 15.3 ounces of yogurt, so there you go. Another way to do this would be solved by graphing. So we have our two original equations. You solve for y, there's one of the equations. Solve for y on the second one by subtracting 12, dividing by 44. If you reduce the fractions, you get -311c plus 210 over 11. So what we do is we plug y1 equals 57 minus 3c, and y2 equals this. Now, in the graphing calculator, what you're going to do here, if we go to y equals, notice how we substitute, or we plug the equations in there for y1 and y2. Now, what you'll do is, for the window, most of us are going to be on zoom 6. If you press zoom and then 6, this is a standard window. We're probably not going to see much of the graphs. Make sure you understand y-intercept. Notice how the y-intercept for y1 is up at 57, and 210 over 11 is around 20. So we need to go up to at least 57 to see the line. So let's change our window for the y max. Let's go up to 70, and then we'll go by tens. We'll go from 0 to 70. All right. And then for the x min and x max, let's go from 0 to 10 just to see what's going on. And there's our graph. So there's one line. There's the other equation. We want to find the point of intersection, so we need to go a little bit further to the right, which means we need to increase the x max. Let's go up to 30, and let's go by tens. And now we are going to see the point of intersection. Well, to calculate the point of intersection, we do second calculate, intersect, press enter 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and lo and behold, we get the 13.9 for x and the 15.3 for y. That's exactly the point of intersection which satisfies the equations, the system of equations. All right, there's another way to do this by using a matrix. So we're getting a lot of different ways to solve this here. If we just change our system of equations into a matrix, notice how the c's and y's have to be lined up. You got your coefficients 3, 1, 57, 12, 44, 840. We're going to call this matrix A. Now the way you do that is you press the matrix button, which is right above the x inverse. Now we're going to edit. So you go over to edit there, press enter. We go down to matrix A. We do a 2 by 3. Okay? And you just plug in 3, 1, 57, 12, 44, 840. So when that is matrix A, we edit the information. Then press second mode to quit out of there. Okay, so we're going to quit out of that screen. Now we're going to do row reduced echelon form. So we're going to do second. We're going to get x1, x to the negative 1, which is the x inverse. We go to matrix. Now we want to do some math. We want to do the row reduced echelon form, which is all the way down as choice B. Press enter. What matrix do we want in there? A. So now we need to go to matrix, this time names, and we want to use the first one, matrix A. So press enter and then put a parentheses there, and bam, look what you get. You get this matrix. This is telling us that 1x plus 0y equals 13.9, so therefore x is 13.9, and 0x plus 1y equals 15.3. So we still get the same answer even if we did a matrix as well, a row reduced echelon form. There's another way to do this too by using matrix inverse, but that'll be for a different video. So if you have any questions, please send me an email, and good times.